the possibility that the Vikings trade Percy Harvin.
Yeah. That's an interesting scenario.
Yeah. And I guess it's because he's had some behavioral problems.
Really?
And he's had some blow-ups with Coach Leslie Frazier. Stuff that I didn't know.
I don't know either.
But apparently that's team reasoning, is that he's just not getting along with the coach and the team and could be ready for a change.
You know what, though? The funny thing is, they actually still make the playoffs without him, but would they even have been there without him? You gotta, and I know that sounds like a weird way to ask that question, but really what I'm trying to ask is, or say, is they started off pretty well because of him. But he was in the early talks of MVP, and then he gets injured.
But without him, his last game was played in Week 9. Without him, they were 5-2. 5-2 without Harvin, and apparently, what happened was, multiple sources say that he had an embarrassing tirade directed toward Coach Frazier, disrespecting the coach during the season when Harvin was sidelined with an ankle injury. Teammates were present and were told that when Harvin left the team, he was put on injured reserve. So that blow-up could have had something to do with him being put on injured reserve, and maybe he could have came back. But I guess the team just thought he was being detrimental, that he wasn't being a team guy. They would rather not have him around. And they did a hell of a job without him. Adrian Peterson was a beast without him. He said, okay, Harvin, do you want to have some problems? You want to have some words? That's okay. I'll take your carries. I'll take your touches. And I'll nearly break the Russian record doing it.
9 yards, dude. 9 yards. See, and that's the thing. I feel like Percy Harvin is he's a very good package guy.
In only 9 games, he had 62 catches, 677 yards.
This is Harvin.
Yes, Harvin.
Okay.
He also topped 80 receiving yards in 6 of his first 8 games in 2012. However, it does appear that his lack of maturity is the biggest issue here.
See, and
that's why they think he has value, by the way. That's why they think they can trade him. Is because people are going to want him.
Well, he's a threat on special teams. He's a threat in the passing game. He's a threat in the running game. So, yeah, I could see why people want him.
He lines up everywhere.
Yeah, I could definitely see why people would want him. The question is, what would people be willing to give up for him? Let's use the Giants as an example, and we'll flip it and we can go to the Cowboys if you want afterwards to give my opinion. I don't care. But real quick, if the Giants were going to trade for him,
only 24 years old.
What would you expect them to give up? Is he worth a first-round draft pick and a role player? A second-round draft pick and a role player? A third-round draft pick and and a starter?
It all depends on how bad Minnesota wants to get rid of him. If Minnesota really wants to get rid of him, I'm that GM out there saying, I want him, but I'm going to tell this team out there I want him, but I don't need him.
Yeah, that's really more the question I'm getting. Like, if you're a GM looking to trade for him, how badly do you want this guy?
If I'm a GM, I only want him as bad as, again, it depends on the team and the situation. If I'm the Jets and I'm looking for a playmaker, maybe to me he would be worth a first or second round pick. Kid's only 24 years old. He's only been in the league 4 years.
What if
He's got some years left in him. So to the Jets, probably worth a second-round pick.
And Tim Tebow.
To a team like New England, who may lose a Wes Welker, maybe they say, "Well, listen, we'll give you a fourth, or a fourth and a fifth, or a fourth and a sixth, or a third in this year's, and a fifth in next year's." Maybe that's worth it to them, but I don't see a team like New England and Bill Belichick spending too much to get a guy like Harvin.
No.
Even though they can really use him if they lose Welker, they still have guys like Edelman and, some other guys that can step in and fill that role for a little while.
What about Victor Cruz?
Somebody said, the G-men need a playmaker. If the Giants re-sign Victor Cruz, which they should, I'm expecting them to, then they don't need Percy Harvin. If Victor Cruz is gone from the Giants to the Giants, I bet you he's worth a third-round pick. I bet you the Giants would trade a third-round pick for him.
See, and as a Cowboy fan, I feel like Dallas would go spend too much on him. And as soon as they traded for him,
but I don't think Dallas would want him when they have Miles Austin, they have Dez Bryant. They already have other guys. I don't think that they would want him as well.
Oh, no, we're just talking hypotheticals here.
Yeah, but I'm saying teams that could actually use him.
Miami is a team that could actually use him.
Miami could use him. To Miami, he's probably worth they're too high up in the draft status to offer a first-round pick. But a second-round pick, I bet you Miami would give up this year's second, maybe next year's third in order to get him. I bet you they would be one of the higher spenders to get him.
Yeah, like to me, a team like Miami, he could fit really well with. You even look at...
How about Seattle?
Seattle, you could fit well with. They really, to me, that's the one thing they're missing is a dominant number one.
That's why I mentioned him.
A guy that you have to double.
Now that Amendola's leaving the Rams, how about the Rams?
Jeff Fisher takes him.
Could.
I wouldn't be surprised by it. I wouldn't.
Anon, the anonymous in our chat room, 8232. I'll disagree a little bit that if the Giants re-sign Victor Cruz, they need another wide receiver as well because you don't want to get too wide receiver heavy. Yeah,
around.
Exactly. You can't possibly give the ball to Nix, Cruz, Harvin, plus either Wilson or Brown, whoever's running the ball for him next year, on top of, trying to incorporate a tight end. There's just too much going on.
And you don't forget, you still have a second-round pick in
Ruben Randall.
Ruben Randall on your team.
You got Terrell Jernigan. You still got Ramsey Barton. You got a couple guys there. I don't think they need a guy like Percy Harvin.
Yeah, and I get what you're trying to say, though, anonymous in our chat room. I do. I really do.
Well, listen, anybody would be happy to have him on their team. I just don't think it's a good fit with New York if Victor Cruz is still there. If Victor Cruz moves on and they can find a way to get Harvin cheap, I'm all for it.
Well,
it's got to be without Cruz.
Nobody in their right mind is going to be like, no, I don't want Percy Harvin on my team. The really question is, what are you willing to accept seeing your team give up to get a guy like Percy Harvin? If the Vikings are willing to trade him, I hope they get something out of it because it's not like that team is stacked with talent. Adrian Peterson literally ran them into the playoffs. Okay? So this team still needs a lot of work. You still need to make Christian Ponder a better quarterback. You still probably could help that offensive line more. You still could find wide receivers. You could still help your defense. That team's got holes. So I could see why you would want to trade him to get more drafts and more depth. Fine. But you got to make sure you're getting something out of it that's really going to benefit your team.
I have a feeling this anonymous out there, I might know him. Might be Hightower. I don't know if I know him. But I just feel like that would be something like my buddy Hightower would say.
No way you were nuts?
Yeah, he definitely called me nuts. But I don't think I'm nuts. I think the Giants... What does that have? The Giants trade him, they...
Are high. It's got to be R high. There's no way
Yeah.
you just put E high. Unless he's high. The Giants trade... Now, I'm assuming this is going back to... I always forget they're on a delay. I always forget that because the chat room is like that for everybody, but the talking is delayed. So we say something and then we go off, and we're halfway through the going off by the time they hear what we say, and it take. So I'm not sure trade who and all that kind of stuff.
Listen, the Giants aren't going to trade Cruz.
I don't think
They're
so
going to try
either.
and sign him.
You got to.
They're not going to trade him. And I don't think the Giants are going to go out and trade for Percy Harvin. It's wishful thinking. I just, as a realistic sports person, you're not expecting that move to be made.
You're just having some fun with the idea.
But like I said, I think a team like Miami, I think a team like Seattle, I think there are teams out there that could use Percy Harvin. And I think he will be actively pursued if people know he's out there on the trade block.
And he should be. He's a guy that can help your team in numerous facets. As a wide receiver, as a running back, in special teams, he is a playmaking type of player. It's that simple. He really is. The migraines seem to have gone away on him this past year, and then instead he gets injured in a different fashion, and now I'm finding out that he had issues with the coach. Either which way, though, that's an interesting little idea, though. I did not hear about the idea of the Vikings looking to trade Harvin.